and welcome to the Basic to Bold podcast. I'm your host, Jen Bjornson. It's so easy as we go through life, we can often have moments where life gets completely flipped upside down. And so where we had things together, our peace can be very, very much disrupted. Having a new baby can definitely do this, a new job, moving, and it's not like we can change these types of things, right? We want to experience different things and we want to experience new life events. So even though all of these can be good, just a change in our life definitely can mess up our peace, add chaos to our life. We also live in a world where chaos happens. Chaos, whether we like it or not. Sometimes it sucks and it's just how life is. So the three areas that we're going to be exploring today are our spiritual, our mental, and our emotional. These three areas, when we put them together, when we understand what they are, we have a lot more control over our lives, over our relationships, over the peace just surrounding our life. It really helps you to stop fighting this unknown feeling of like, I gotta fix something, but I don't know what to fix. What do I need to change? That feeling of like out of control because you just genuinely don't know what's happening. It really helps that fight in your head. So when these three areas, the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, when they get out of alignment and we start just kind of running on chaos, which happens. It totally happens. Sometimes we just get in survival mode. Maybe a situation that you can't control happened or a situation that you planned on happening. Either one of those can throw us out of chaos and make us unaligned in those three areas. And the goal is to get them back into alignment. And we'll take having a baby as an example, right? When you have a baby, nothing in your life is consistent, right? There's no sleep. You don't know when feeding time is going to be. You are in absolute chaos of just survival mode all right, how do we keep this thing alive? And in the first week, it's just all survival mode. It's just when the baby wants to eat, you feed the baby. When the baby needs a diaper change, you change the diaper. When we need to burp, we burp. And that's why they always say, if you need a rest, sleep when the baby sleeps. Why? Because there's no consistency. Now that's a situation that we want, right? Like if you get a baby, that's a wonderful experience, but it's still chaotic and it still throws your life into chaos. And so you spend the next couple of years really getting back into a level of consistency and peace where you're not just at the mercy of this child. And that can happen in a death. It can happen with a new job. It can happen in moving. And so when these get out of alignment, the goal is to get them back into alignment. But if you don't know about them, if you don't understand what you're dealing with, then how would you know to get them back into alignment? So by understanding these three areas, we're going to now, instead of just reacting to things, we're now going to have alignment, and we're going to make sure all these different areas are checked off or they're consistently filled up, and we're covering these. So that way, when things go awry, when the household gets sick or something in your job is now a big project, you have the energy to expend. And you are not now going from survival to just, I'm now so burnt out, I cannot even function. So when you become overly stressed, sometimes we try to think our way out of it. And the reality is, if you're already doing a ton of stuff, taking more action isn't always the answer. So just briefly, we're going to go over the three areas, and I'm going to explain what they do, and then I'm going to break them apart. So the first one is spiritual. This is your purpose, your passion. What is only you can do the way that you can do it. The second one is mental. This is your framework, your rules, your standards, your boundaries, who you are to a core, what you need, what's really aligns with you to fill up your cup, to give you energy. And the third one is your emotional intelligence. And that one is the stories that we tell ourselves. Okay, so spiritual intelligence, your purpose, your passion, the thing that only you can do the way that you can do it. Now, this is what you're brought here on this earth to do. Now, let's say you want to be a life coach, and the reality is there's a ton of life coaches, right? So you can sit there and you just have this deep desire to help people. You've had an experience, or you've experienced something, a hardship or multiple hardships, and you go, I really could help people. And the reality is then you start looking into it and it truly feels oversaturated. It just feels like everybody's a life coach and everybody's doing it. And the reality is that could be true. It can be oversaturated. It can be true. The reality is sometimes when we pick something, it is overly saturated and everybody's doing it and everybody's trying to do it and everybody's trying to be the expert at it. But the truth also is that you can only speak the way you speak. And you have experiences that only you have. And so when you're saying this thing that, let's say, tons of other people are saying, you're not going to say it in the same way. You're not going to say the same experiences as other people would use. And so when you're talking about it, you're going to come up with your specific group of people that are really going to resonate because you're the one talking, because you're the one giving the experiences, because it's your life and all the things that you've experienced. And that's what they need to hear. And now, because you've said it in a very specific way that opens their eyes to understanding what it is you're trying to say, even though tons of people have already said the exact same thing, you just say it in a different way. So now they're like, oh my gosh, my life is completely changed because now I have this piece of information. And not only do I have this piece of information, I now understand this piece of information. So I have people in my life who are amazing at business. They're amazing at it and they're so good at it. And I remember asking them, hey, how do you do this thing? And I remember them looking at me going, what do you mean you just do it? You just do it. And I thought, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me at all, right? But then I went to my coaches. I went to the people that I mentor with. And I didn't even ask them. I just remember listening to them and they were giving a weekly call, or I was at a retreat, something. And they said their experience of, oh, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And this is why you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I connected the dots of, oh my gosh, that's what all of these amazing business people around me who are surrounding me, that's what they're doing. But it wasn't the people surrounding me who explained it to me. I just saw what they were doing, but I said, how are you doing that? What is it that you're doing? I don't get how you're doing it. I get that you're doing it, but I don't get how you're doing it. And it wasn't until a totally random person, a complete different person who wasn't even in my life other than just I was in their coaching group or I was at a retreat, and the way that they said it just exactly right for me to hear, now I understood it. And the reality is that is exactly why if you have a burning desire to do something, it doesn't matter if there's thousands or millions of other people doing it. You are going to attract the people that resonate with you. Now, if you're listening to me and you're saying, I have no idea what my purpose and passion is. I don't have a clue what I like. I don't have a clue what I'm to do. I don't have an idea. One of the things I would say is go between the ages about 7, 14, around there. And at some point, something was really, really interesting to you. Now, let's say you wanted to be an astronaut. All right. The reality is there's a very few percentage of people who can be astronauts. That's just a fact, right? You have to have perfect vision. You have to be in top peak physical health. Like the amount of people that can actually be an astronaut, it's just a lower number of people. Same with like professional athletes. There's just a very small amount of people that can actually accomplish that. Even though you wanted to be an astronaut, it doesn't always mean that being an astronaut was the only thing that you wanted to be. So I want to give you this exercise. If you're in the pursuit of living your best life and going after the dream, keep going. Do not let me stop you. But if you've hit a point where that's not really a possibility anymore, right? Like you've hit a certain age, you don't have great vision. or you've just kind of proven you don't quite have the skill, whatever it is, you know, in your heart of hearts, you're like, because of this and this and this and this, it's not going to happen. But I would like to challenge you. There was something about that job or that industry that really piqued your interest. So a lot of people look at, I want to be a professional athlete. And that's kind of their goal. And if they can't be that, then they just kind of forget it. But the reality is there's a lot that can surround a professional athlete. And you don't have to be a professional athlete to get the same feeling or the same fulfillment as you would being a professional athlete. What I mean by that is a lot of times we pick things because it meets one of our unmet needs, which is variety, consistency, love and connection, or significance. So let's take a professional athlete as an example. Sometimes if you were to ask somebody, why do you want to be a professional athlete? They'd say, oh my gosh, I'd be famous, I'd get all this money, I'd get this, I'd get that, I'd get this. You don't have to be a professional athlete just to accomplish feeling those same feelings. If it's just not possible to achieve what it is that you're trying to go after, we've already established that's not really a possibility. I want to challenge you and start looking at, okay, what was that job? What about that job really brought me to life? It's sometimes we get these stuck in our head because we've hit a lot of logic saying, well, like, that's not possible and that's not possible and this isn't possible and I'm never going to do that. I get that. And that may be very, very true. At the same time, it doesn't mean you can't get the same experience from a different occupation or a different event or a different experience. And so I really want you to broaden your mind to say, what about that is it that I was really trying to get? And then what could I do in replace of that? I've heard this story where this girl desperately wanted to be a veterinarian, desperately, and she just didn't have the grades for it. And she kept applying and got rejected. And eventually she just accepted, I'm never going to be a veterinarian. It's never going to happen. After kind of having this conversation, the question was asked, well, what about a veterinarian is it that you love? And she said, oh, I absolutely love animals. She's like, I'm obsessed with animals and I just love being around them. I want to take care of animals. And so then it was brought up, well, could you be a dog walker? Could you be around animals? Could you work at a shelter and just be around animals and take care of animals? She genuinely had never thought of that. She had just never thought of that. Because in her mind, the only option was she wanted to be a veterinarian. She wanted to be a veterinarian. And the reality is there's so many jobs that can get us the experiences we're trying to get it. But our brain sometimes gets so hyperfixated on one specific route that we can't see the other routes that can get us there. So one thing I don't want us to get hung up on, spirituality being religious. It can absolutely be a part of your spirituality. Religion, I think, is wonderful when it can be very helpful and it can be very beneficial at the same time. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being very specific about what it is that you're here on this earth to do. What is it that only you can do the way that you can do it? And so if I do believe that adding God or some kind of deity can be very helpful. Prayer is very helpful. I love meditation and reading good books, whether it be the Bible or other scriptures. Anything can be beneficial to add to this experience. It doesn't have to be stuck in a specific religion. All right, the second one is your mental intelligence. Now, this one is your rules, your standards, your boundaries, and this is really important because this is who you are as an individual. These are the things that you need. This is what's going to fill your cup. This is what is definitely non-negotiables in your life. Now, what I like to say is your rules create your standards and your standards create your boundaries. So your rules, first of all, are your personality, your energy type. You can use Myers-Briggs. You can use astrology, numerology. I personally love Carol Tuttle's energy typing. That one has been the most beneficial for me. So I'm going to explain things in the energy types because number one, it's my favorite. And number two, it's the one I feel like it's the easiest. Energy types 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not that complicated. We all have 4 types, but we have a primary, we have a secondary, and then you have the third and the fourth are kind of smaller in who you are as a person. If you learn who you are, one of the things that's beneficial is you're going to know if you're a higher energy or if you're a lower energy. If you're a higher energy person, it means you get rejuvenated by other people. It means you like to be on the move. You like action. You like movement. If you're a lower energy person, you're usually more not introverted, but you're more introspective. You like quiet. You like to be able to think about things. If somebody asks you a question and you're an extroverted person or you're a more outward person, you just kind of talk. If you're a more introspective person, you're going to look at them and you're really going to think about it. And neither of them is right or wrong. It's just the way that our brains work. It's just the way that we move through this life. The other thing is understanding if you're a more intense individual or if you're a more reserved type person. So sometimes people are just more intense. They're more confrontational. They're just kind of like this, right? And I'm sure you can think of a few people. And then other people are more of passive, but not in a negative way. They just really don't care to be aggressive. They don't really care to be intense. And so understanding who you are will also make you aware of how you're moving in this world. So one of the things that was really important for me is understanding that I am a very introspective person. And understanding that helped me realize that I need a lot of alone time, that I do a lot better if I can think about things. If somebody asks me a question, I don't have to respond right away. And that's not how I was raised. I was raised in a very high movement family. They're not wrong and I'm not wrong. But what it did is it made me think, I gotta go. I gotta move. I gotta figure this out. I gotta keep going. And it really caused a lot of problems. Some of it was health problems. Others just kind of this level of like, you're not doing enough. Keep going. Why are you sitting down? And as a person who's a little bit more of an introspective and a lower energy person, the reality is I was getting exhausted. I was getting so tired of trying to keep up with that movement. And same with other people. They may be a higher energy person and they're in a low energy environment, and other people are going to shame them for being too much. Why are you so much? Just calm down. Just sit down. You're too much. And so if you start looking around and learning these different types, you'll see how often we're shamed for really who we are. Lower energy people get shamed a lot. Like, come on, be more active, be more extrovert. And then higher energy people really get shamed for being too much a lot of the time. And it's not true. It's just who we are. But this can be very beneficial, especially in relationships. If you understand who you are, your rules, and what you truly need. Now, when you're in a relationship, the great thing that you can both come together is if somebody is a higher energy or somebody's a lower energy. And now you can build a life without shaming the other person or shaming yourself. Now, your rules create your standards. So if I'm a person who now understands that they need a lot of alone time, my standards should now be built around, okay, I know that this is who I am. I know that it's not going to change. I'm going to be so peopled out that I'm going to have some alone time to recharge. And by doing this, I now have more frequent alone time throughout the day or throughout the week that I don't have that level of like, I'm done, I'm burnt out. If you're an extroverted person, you may even find that you recognize I have some lower energy people in my life and I push and push and push and push and push, and then they get mad at me and they get so mean and they get so blunt. And now you can start balancing between, okay, they are a lower energy person. They need a little bit more alone time. I'm just going to let them have this time because that's a standard. So now we can create this boundary that this is a non-negotiable. I really need this. And now we can have healthy relationships and understanding. A lot of the times it's not personal, and you can start to see when somebody's a higher energy or lower energy, or they are a little bit more intense, or they're a little bit more passive. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. We're all just moving in this world the way that we know how to move. If you want to look at this in a scientific way, by understanding your standards, you now create boundaries for your nervous system. We now don't let our nervous system get too overwhelmed or too charged up. And so because you're now taking precautions, you understand where the guardrails are, you know not to do certain things, that now we understand, oh, I'm getting to this certain point, and I know if I get past this point, then I'm going to become a not very nice person. I'm going to become overwhelmed. Whatever it is, these guardrails, these boundaries that we put into place are just to give us pause to say, hold on, I need something. Give me a minute. I can come back recharged. I can come back just as good as I was. But you have to give me a minute. Also, by setting up these boundaries, we stop being so available all the time. When we're constantly in yes, because we don't know what's right, what's the right way to do things, then we're kind of always available. And then we're at the mercy of everybody else's schedule or everybody else's opinions. And when you finally recognize, you know what, I'm this way. These are my rules. These are my standards. These are my boundaries. I don't have to follow yours. I'm not required to make sure that you are having a good experience. I am required to make sure I'm having a good experience. And if I know myself and I know my rules, I'm going to have a good experience. And if I have a good experience now, I'm not responsible for you having a good experience, but I can participate in other people having a good experience as well. So the third area is emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is the stories that we tell ourselves. I, however, like to say these are the lies that we tell ourselves, because the majority of the time, the stories that we're saying are actually lies. They're not really founded or based in truth. They're based in usually other people's opinions or other people's expectations. As an example, I'm sure at some point, if I were to say, do you care what other people think about you? Now, some people may say, no, I really don't care. I have a pretty good self-esteem. That's awesome. But I'll bet if you really think about it, you could probably think of one or two people that no matter what, no matter how great of self-confidence you have, and no matter how much you've worked through something, you still have one or two people that if they say something in a certain way, you'll go, ugh, I have to follow what they say. If I don't, it's going to cause problems and it's just not worth it. Or you'll be like, man, I just wish so-and-so would be proud of me. I just wish so-and-so would say that they love me. So the way we combat these stories and the lies that we tell ourselves is we have to become indifferent to other people's opinions. The reality is we have to rewrite these stories that are untrue, because the majority of them are untrue. Many times throughout the day, I'm sure we tell ourselves what we should be. I should be a better mom. Oh, I suck at this. Oh, I'm failing at this. I should do better at this. Oh, I'm so different things. Well, those are all stories that we're telling ourselves. Those are all lies that we're telling ourselves, because the majority of them aren't true. Now, sometimes it's not just what we tell ourselves. Sometimes it's an emotion. Sometimes we'll be doing something and we feel this embarrassment or we feel this anxiety. And that's our body's way of telling us that there's an emotion that's happening in our bodies. And usually it's not a true emotion. Usually it's not. Have you ever been in a group of people and you're saying something and all of a sudden you kind of get this panic of like, I sound like an idiot. Do I sound like an idiot? I hope these people don't think I sound like an idiot. What are these people thinking of me right now? All of that is our internal dialogue or our mindset in the stories that we're telling ourselves, rather than just telling the story and just, it is what it is, people like us, don't like us, whatever, that we have these internal dialogues of all the collaborations of when somebody has told us, you're embarrassing, you talk too much, you do this, you do that, you should stop doing this, you should stop doing that. And we basically should all over ourselves. The way this appears in the other two areas is if you look at your purpose and your passion. Some of you, when I was talking about that, some of you may have honestly said, I have no clue. I have truly no idea what brings me to life. And you do the exercise of going through your younger self, and you don't even have any memories of what it is that you loved. That tells me there are many stories that you're telling yourself. As an example, if you wanted to do something like, let's say, be a lawyer, and you had mentioned when you were 7 years old, you told somebody, man, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. Maybe somebody laughed at you. Maybe somebody looked at you and said, that's never going to happen. Oh, honey, we don't go to college. You're awful at writing. You're never going to be a lawyer. What makes you think you can do that? And so at a young age, you automatically learn to shut that down. Even though that really is a burning desire in you, you learn to shut it down very quickly. And so that's where the stories and the lies can really affect your purpose. It can also affect your rules and your standards and the mental intelligence that you're trying to figure out. Let's say, again, going back to being labeled, you're too much. And so anytime you go in a room and you even get a little bit excited, you're like, oh my gosh, all I hear is this person in my ear going, you're too much, calm down. I can't believe you're telling the story again. You look stupid. And so again, we have these stories usually from other people that stop us from being our true selves. This can affect our relationships because let's say now we have a story that we want this amazing love and relationship where we communicate and it's amazing and it's great and we're both partners, but all you've ever seen is fighting. And you've never seen anybody have a good, healthy relationship. You don't even know what that looks like. Well, that's a story in your head, not because you put it there, but you genuinely have never seen a healthy relationship. You don't even know what it looks like. So when somebody comes in and you think they're a good person, you're hoping they're a good person, and they'll do something. You're like, oh, I don't really like that, but I've never seen a good relationship. Is that the right way to do it? Is it not the right way to do it? And so you're trying to create something that you want when you've never even seen it. Or even possibly you've had people tell you, well, that's the best it's ever going to get. Nobody's ever going to love you, so you might as well just accept that. Another way that it looks in trying to get money or a better career or more finances is, have you ever heard the word money doesn't grow on trees? Rich people got rich by stealing from everybody else. These are stories that we hear. Or the idea of like physical health. Oh, when you hit wait till you hit 30, you're going to feel awful. Wait till you hit 40. Oh, your back's going to hurt. This. I'm telling you, if you heard those stories, I feel better in my 40s than I ever did in my 20s. So the idea that you can get older and actually get healthier and feel better is a possibility. It's a real thing because I've done it. I know I can do it. And these stories that we put on things, they're all lies. And they're usually from other people's experiences because they didn't know any better. I truly don't believe anybody was trying to make us feel awful or trying to make us feel bad. I just think there's a lot of people that they didn't know any better. Just because it's true for other people doesn't have to make it true for you. All right, that's your experience. Got it. That doesn't have to be my experience. So what do we do about this? The goal is to rewrite these stories, to tell ourselves that they're not true. But we can't just tell ourselves that they're not true. We can't just be like, that's not true, because we still don't know what is true. All right, if that's not true, if I could get an amazing relationship, great. I still don't know what that looks like. This is where you use energy work, hypnotherapy, breath work, meditation, tapping. But that is the best thing that I have found, is using those type of modalities are what change your story the fastest and the quickest. Personally, I love hypnotherapy and I love energy work. But the great thing about these is it breaks the connection. It stops the way that you're thinking for you to flip it and have an understanding to say that's not true anymore. And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for your brain to have that break in the connection, break in the pathways, and then flip it and go, oh, this is true. That's not true. I thought that was true, but that's not true. So when you put all of these together and you have a major life event, right? You have a baby or you change jobs or you're moving. Yes, it adds chaos, but by understanding these 3 areas, now, if you understand your purpose and passion, when your life gets a little more under control, you can now start creating things that bring you that passion back into your life. You may have to take a pause, and that's okay. Having a baby, everything gets put on pause. Moving, everything gets put on pause. But I remember this story that I thought was so fascinating. This was before I really understood. We were in the military and we had moved quite a few times. And I just felt chaotic all the time because we moved so much. And I remember meeting this individual, and they were a sewer, and they were obsessed with sewing, and they sewed everything. And they even told this funny story about how anytime they moved, they would always label a very specific box and a very specific containers and a very specific table, that was always to be the very last thing loaded in the truck and the very first thing unloaded. And so I was kind of laughing with this person, and I said, are you telling me that in the middle of a gigantic move, you've got boxes all over the place, you've got chaos happening all around you, and you're telling me you're sewing? And they go, yeah, I'm sewing up until the last day. And then I pack all my boxes and I pack all my stuff, and it is the last thing on the truck. And I thought, that's insane. That would drive me crazy. What are you talking about? And here's what I realized. I realized that person knew their purpose and their passion. Sewing brought them so much joy. It was genuinely something that they loved, and it brought them so much joy and so much peace and so much happiness that while the world was burning around them, as long as they were sewing, as long as they had their sewing machine and their table and all this stuff that they needed, they were fine. Equally as important is understanding your rules, your mental intelligence. Because in the middle of chaos, when things are burning down around you, by understanding your boundaries and understanding what you need, yes, it may be chaotic, but the fact that you know who you are and what you need, whether it's more people or more alone time, a little bit more variety in your life. If you know that about you, you know that that's what you need, then your world can be an absolute chaos and you can handle it. Your reservoir of tolerance is so much more than if you're just absolutely empty. If you have the right stories going on in your head, that you're not trying to people please, you're not worried about other people's opinions, you're only living your best life in truth. You're not going to the side of this is false, where like everything's fine, or going to the fact of everything's awful, this is horrible. You're staying centered by saying this is true. Okay, my world is a little chaotic right now. That's true. That is a true statement. But it's only for this period of time. It is going to get better. I know it's going to get better. You can also do this in a situation where you're like, this is not okay. This is not okay. And you know what? In the past, I was told this was okay. I was told that I need to accept this. I don't choose to accept this anymore. When we add all 3 of these together and you're getting your purpose, you know who you are. You're being honest in the stories that you're telling yourself. It doesn't matter how much chaos comes around you. It doesn't matter if we move. It doesn't matter if we lose our jobs. It doesn't matter if we have another child. It doesn't matter if you're going through a major life event. whether it's caused by you, whether it's caused by another person, whether it's caused by something you have no control over. You can look around, and at some point, there's going to be a little bit of settling where you stop with the chaos and now you have to come back to the center, come back to peace. If you understand these, you can quickly come back to peace because now you know exactly what to do. Because you'll know what it is that you need, and you'll know what is going to bring you back the quickest, fastest possible way. If you're into journaling, take each section and write, what is my purpose and passion? What are my stories around my purpose and passion? What are my rules? What are the stories around who I'm supposed to be? What is a story that I tell myself daily, right? Oh, I'm so obnoxious. Oh, I'm so ridiculous. These are stories, if they've been in there for a long time, we probably say them to ourselves on a daily basis. So I want you to take these 3 areas and start breaking it down. You're not going to do everything perfectly, and you may start to really notice different things in your life that bring up different stories, or that start sparking your purpose and your passion, or you may start noticing a rule and a boundary that you have. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. If you found this helpful, please share this podcast with somebody that you think might benefit from it. And subscribe to us if you're enjoying these podcasts, because I am definitely enjoying talking to you and connecting with all of you. Thanks so much. And until next time, bye guys.